you're a clinic owner, you wake up on the Monday morning, everything is gone. No patients, no appointments, no income. What do you do? Guys, for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I want to break down my exact strategy and tactics on how I would build a practice again and again and again and again and again. You don't have to listen to me. We have 5 practices. My practice here has close to 650 visits per week without me delivering the service. And a lot of my friends, colleagues started to ask me about 2-3 years ago, how the hell did you do that? And I've been documenting it since day one because I wish there was more available tools like this to show you how, what the different options are out there. And in this video, we're going to cover so much. I'm actually going to give a lot away. And one of the best frameworks I've come up with on how I would build a meaningful, not just successful, because I heard this from someone amazing in the industry and they said, don't ever define success for others. Let them define it for themselves. But I do want to give you the framework. So I'm going to go through a few things, bear with me. And by the end of this video, you should have all the necessary knowledge to know how to make the best decisions possible. And it has to start with understanding that the road ahead is not easy. How do we get to the peak? You know, my company's called Practice Peak. How do we get there? Well, it's hard. But in life, without sounding too philosophical, you've got to choose your hard. It's hard not knowing how to get new patients. It's also very hard having lots of new patients and losing a lot of them. It's also very hard having a lot of new patients, and we're going to talk about retention principles in a minute, and getting really busy and being tired and burned out. So choose your hard. My mission is to get 1,000 clinics to become the top 1% of clinics out there. And that top 1% definition should be different for all of you. And I want to talk about this, these different practice models, because I notice a lot of the companies we work with, a lot of the clinics we coach, there might be a discrepancy between what the owner says they want and their actions. But we're different, right? And we want to help and hold their hands in saying, please, 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 don't go that way. That's what's coming up. Why don't you try this? So how do we go from I wake up and I absolutely feel like everything is gone? You know, think whatever happened to COVID. You close the door of the clinic, nothing is going in. No new patients, no appointments. Stress and uncertainty for the owner. We've all been there. In fact, sometimes even this uncertainty of, even if I have a busy full diary, at what point is going to change? And by the way, the reason why I speak with confidence is because I've been there myself. I started my practice 9 years ago now, from scratch. Day one of my practice, and my wife will tell you that if you speak to her. We spent hundreds of thousands of pounds, lots of hours and months in terms of investments, and I just assumed that when we open this big, beautiful clinic, people would just come to us. Patients would just come. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 1 day, 2 days. Day 2, I'm sitting there, empty clinic. I'm still in the process of interviewing CAs. Not one patient in the diary. Not one new patient in the diary. So I know what you're feeling, that feeling of like unease and uncertainty and anxiety. But at the same time, by the time we finished year 1, so 12 months later, 11 months later, I believe I had a team of close to 10 people and some good revenue and definitely cash flow positive. So I have learned a few lessons along the way. Maybe not the best way to learn the lessons, but this is the framework we're going to explore in this video. The declare. Declare your freedom. Declare your dream. And it stands for a few things. Decide, engineer, craft, launch, activate, retain, and evolve. Last one is super important. I want to talk about this in the last 5 minutes of the video, but let's talk about the first one, declare. Oh, sorry, decide. There's an amazing concept from lots of different businesses. I never claim that the work is mine. Everything is recycled. In fact, this is one of my favorite frameworks that talks about your mindset and the mindset of why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? If I'm going to be building a practice, if I'm going to get busy, if I'm going to be scaling, the question here is, what do I need to decide? And what you need to decide is 2 things. Number 1, what's my why? You speak to any successful entrepreneur, they know their exact why. Even if you guys are watching this and you're not someone who is starting from scratch, you've been in business for a long time, I still think this has a huge amount of value for you to know. What is your why? And the second type of decision you have to make, and I wish I knew this when I was first starting, but it kind of worked out okay for me, is this. Which type of business model, what type of practice do I want to build? What type of practice do I want to build? Typically, there's two roads. One is, let's say we go this way. One road is solo. This is the single doc practice. The other one is this empire, this like multidisciplinary practice, potentially even empire, potentially even multi-practices. If you do not know what the roads look like, chances are you may build something that you don't like. I knew myself, I knew my why, therefore I was very clear on what I wanted on day -1, even before day 0. But you have to make a decision. There is a gentleman called Taki Moore who talks about this principle. So you either have a lifestyle type of practice, which is, I think, probably 80% of people would be better off aiming for that. This is where you don't have the stress, you don't have to have the lessons of how do I scale, how do I learn business modeling, accountancy, finance, marketing, strategy, team, organizational charts, incentives, and the list goes on and on and on and on. This is where you have typically a single doc practice. Typically, they want some sort of lifestyle. This is why they call it sometimes lifestyle business. They want the balance between I'm surfing on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I'm working a few hours a week, typically no more than 30, 40 hours a week. The other type is the empire. The empire is what we have. And it takes a certain individual to do that. And if you guys think that I'm happy and smiley all the time, you're wrong. It's super stressful. And it's taken many sacrifices in terms of the yeses I've had to say in the business. Money, time, away from family. So these are the questions that you absolutely have to ask yourself. Maybe there is even a third road, which is, do I even want to have a practice? But let's just assume that you absolutely want to explore that road. The first thing to decide is, what's my why? What's my driving, they call it the North Star. The second thing is, which type of practice am I looking to build? What would make you satisfied, happy, and what will give me meaning in life? There is no good or bad here. There is just good for you and bad for you. Super important to understand that. And there is this hybrid model that we sometimes talk about, which is Taki Moore's work, is the lifestyle empire. It's pretty difficult to do that in chiropractic in a bricks and mortar business. But because of technology now and AI and systems that we teach and the way we streamline things, you can have a fairly small but very highly effective team, which doesn't require you to build like massive organizational charts and so on and so forth. So definitely get some clarity on what is it that you want. Because we have people in the coaching program coming in and we have 3 levels now. We've restructured it. The first one is like, so imagine this is a mountain. The first one is base camp. Base camp is the people that, at least the solopreneurs, they're the people that are like, I don't care about this peak thing. I don't want to be full of stress. And maybe money is not the biggest motivator. I just want to stay here. Then we have the ascension people who are like, you know what, I'm actually going to start building a team. I'm going to start scaling. Most of my clients in Practice Peak community are an ascension model. And then we have peak. And peak is the top 1% where it's super difficult to get, which is why they're top 1%. We have 2 or 3 people in the group now where they do close to or around 100K a month. And it requires a completely different level of thinking. And we're going to talk about this last point in a minute. But this is the kind of, this is the possibilities out there. Make a decision for yourself. What is, and if you wanted to, I'll show you something. If you wanted to watch one of the videos that we made, it's called How to Grow Your Clinic in 2026. One of the principles we talk about is the why. So if you want to go and consume a bit more of that content to get an even better decision, please do. Secondly, engineer your blueprint. Engineer your blueprint. This one I think people find it tough to accept. I don't know why. I think it's a lot of times it's ego. I was there when I was a bit younger, so I don't blame you guys for it. But engineering your blueprint basically means that the path has been created. You just need to find the right path. Success leaves clues, and there are the stress of time means that someone at some point, someone somewhere in the world would have created something similar that you want to create. So why waste your time, energy, money, effort, mistakes, stress in starting something from scratch, thinking that you're going to do it yourself in terms of whatever it is, a business model, a system for new patients, a retention system, how to onboard patients. There are processes and procedures and masterminds and coaching out there that do a brilliant job at telling you what not to do. So that's one big decision I would do if I'm starting again. I'll be like, hey, who's done what I want to do and how do I model that? In fact, I did that. I paid a lot of money to be part of one of my business mentors back in the days, now partner, taught me lots of lessons about business. But then you start to sprinkle your own personality into it, and you start to realize that it's different now because of me, but the actual model, it's still similar. The frameworks still work. They're scalable, and that's what we teach people now. So you have to understand that there's no shame in modeling what works out there. Everything in life is borrowed and recycled. 99.9999% of things. Very rarely someone will come up with a new concept, because humans have been on the planet for a long time. We're just kind of predictable creatures. So stage 2 is, how do you engineer the blueprint? In my mastermind program, I've literally installed probably 12 different, you can just copy, and I think they should, because I don't care about the system. I care about the outcome, which is better quality care, more patients getting better more consistently, right? So that's step 2. Step 3. This is a huge one. In fact, in my community in school, we have, I'm not going to show you now, but we have a module that took me about 6 months to build. Just the module, the program, not to actually implement that in real life in my practice. And it's the perfect patient journey playbook. Everything you need to know about constructing a day 1, constructing a day 2. Why do we do a day 3? How to set up a progress review. What happens in that progress review? What are the forms looking like? What are the conversations like? Because you have to understand that in order for you to have a predictable outcome, there needs to be a designed journey, a roadmap. And that's something we teach, and we are very passionate about it, because it's one of the biggest differentiators between what makes a successful business and successful results for clients. Consistent is the patient journey. But then it gets very complicated, because then you have to have systems to make sure that these things actually take place. So again, without complicating it too much, make a decision. What's your why? Am I building an empire? Am I building a lifestyle business? Engineer your blueprint. Find something that you really like and you want to model it, so that you can just absolutely scale your journey much quicker. Craft the patient journey. Now it's time to talk about clients and patients. Then it's time to think about new patients. Because I do not want to know how to market and how to get lots and lots of new patients. By the way, just for the record, we have, for the last 24 months now, we're averaging 106 point something new patients a month. 100 plus new patients a month. Great. Very happy. Amazing. Stefan, well done. But if I was doing that for the sake of building the wrong business model for me, for the team, and for patients, I will be miserable, and I will feel stressed, and people say I feel burned out. And you only feel burned out when you're resisting constantly and having to lift something that you've built that you end up not liking. So I'm going to launch the new patient stuff once I've decided what's my why. Maybe even refining it if you've been building a clinic for a while. And then the new patient, honestly, I think it's very simple. Maybe I sound arrogant, but I have certain criteria, and like it's a scale, and the scale means in terms of like, how much time am I spending? How much energy am I spending? How much money am I spending versus the return on my investment? And what you will find is there are certain things that you absolutely have to do first before you start to, for example, do Google PPC. You know, this definitely wouldn't be my first choice. Or I wouldn't start to set complicated funnels for email marketing, because I might not have a list. I might not have an active list. The first 2 things I would do is, how do I do screenings, internal and external, and how do I have a very strong referral system? We've made lots of videos on referral systems. We just launched a paid workshop, which was, and by the way, if you're not part of the school community that we have for free, it's the Cairo Circle. This is my free community where we want to give some more away. Go and join it. There will be some link in the description somewhere, because over there you will find that there's some stuff that you can probably action to get you to 10, 15, 20, 30K a month. So you have enough to invest in yourself to come and play in the big league, where we have some very big conversations about scaling, impact, and how do we create an amazing life, that peak state. But anyways, referral systems, super important. If you have one and you think it's great, maybe get someone to audit it, and maybe put it against like someone that is maybe 10 steps ahead for you to think, good Lord, I've got so much more work to do. Launch the new patients. These will be the first 2 steps. If you're already doing these, the question is not just necessarily, do I keep adding more, like, I don't know, PPC, Facebook ads, reactivation campaigns, going to companies to talk, leaflets, I would probably say, well, can I do like more of these? Can I have more referrals? Can I have more screenings? Only when these are starting to run out, because chances are, if you don't have associates, or even if you have 1 or 2 associates, these will be plenty. But we'll talk about the next step in a minute, which again, I don't want you to think all I need to do is get new patients, because we've been there, we've done that, and I realized it's a very, very, very inefficient model. But the point is, and we've stolen this from Alex Ramosi, you've got to do more of what works. When it stops working, then you have to do it better. And what I mean by that is, if you think that referrals don't work, it's because you don't have a good referral system, you don't have a good product. So go back to the drawing board and understand, how do we create better referral systems, sticky points, reward points, gamification. These are all things that we're very passionate about within the community, because referrals are some of the best patients you have. And I sometimes disagree when chiropractors go, oh, you know what, all you need to do is do your best work, adjust them really well, and they'll refer. It's not true. Some will, but some won't. And also, I think it's a little bit of an old school method to think about creating a sustainable practice, sustainable business. So there are many, many things you can do to have a referral system. We have about 30 to 33% referral rate on 100 new patients a month. So imagine having 25 to 30 to 35 new patients a month coming from referral programs and gamification with build apps and so on. That's the true value foundation of your business when you're first starting anyway. So you do more. When that doesn't work, you do better. When that doesn't work, you do different. And that's where, and again, this is not my work, this is Alex Ramosi. When you do different, that's when we think completely, oh my God, do I need to change my model? Do I need to change my marketing person? Do I need to fire this agency? Do I need to hire a new one? And so on. So this is just like the most basics, guys. And I'm not sure if I overwhelm people with these videos or if I get you inspired, but my intention is to show you how much more you can be doing, but not necessarily by working harder. Just being aware that there's systems and coaching and consulting out there that can just absolutely, I call it the microwave method, like heat up the process of you being successful in a matter of minutes rather than months, in a matter of weeks rather than years. Stage 5. So now you've got new patients. Now we have the right business model. You're like excited because things are starting to work. You've got a new patient or a perfect patient journey playbook that you've developed for your own clinic. Now it's time to start really thinking, how do I activate the wow factor? This is what we call the Disney experience, or some people call it the celebrity service. This is where you start to build maybe a bit of a team. And every time a patient comes in, you have certain procedures and protocols where they go, wow. And this is the aim we want. We want that, wow, that was different. Love that experience. How many times, think about this now, how many times in the last week or last month have you referred people somewhere because you were wowed? Doesn't happen often, especially not in a service-based business. Typically people go, oh, my steak was too cold, or it wasn't cooked, or the hairdresser was a bit rude to me, oh, this, I don't know, baby yoga group was too busy, oh, I couldn't find the parking. Very rarely people go, wow, that's amazing. I'm going to talk about this to people, especially when it comes to your health. So you've got to have this, they call it the Disney experience, because when you go to Disney, you know what it's like. It's like, wow, they know my name and which hotel I'm staying, and they're like welcoming everyone with a smile and a hug, and they give gifts, and it's magical. Now, obviously, we don't want that if someone is in a lot of pain and discomfort that they've never been to a clinic before. You don't want you to be like all smiley and happy. Oh, it's great to see you're in pain. But the experience, the service, the customer needs to be well looked after. In terms of this point, this is where you might want to make notes. Retain, retain, retain. Retaining is it should be one of the models that gets taught in school. Is without retention, all you have is the leaky bath theory. Some people call it the leaky bucket. And you've got to consider, I'll show you my amazing drawings in a minute, but you have to consider, PVA means patient visit average. So how many visits do we have in a given time divided by the number of patients that come in? It doesn't matter how many new patients you have. I promise you, if everyone is leaving, so you're filling up the tap and then the hose just keeps draining, it makes zero sense to do that in one system. And let's say the system is a bath or a a glass or a bottle or a bucket if there's lots of holes around it? So why do we do that with patients? I can have 12 new patients a month, and I can be compounding them, and that my PVA can be higher, or I can have a rubbish PVA and have 20 new patients a month. In fact, we do work with some of those clinics. So when they're first onboarded, we have to absolutely say to them, do not spend any more money on marketing thinking you need more new patients, because the statistics are telling me, and we have lots of different calculators and things that we use, the statistics are telling me that you've got to plug the hole first, then turn on the tap. Or at least don't keep the tap running for so long if you're just wasting new patients. It's not, the word is not necessarily wasting, but the idea behind me spending more money in marketing, because I think the diaries need to be busier, but then everyone is leaving after 4.2 visits, makes zero sense. So one of my biggest modules that we teach is, and by the way, you can watch some of these videos for free. Go and watch this one, by the way, guys. How to stop chasing more new patients. Fix this instead. We'll talk about some of the levers that you can pull to fix that problem, or at least to try and tackle it more effectively. Because it's very, very, very sad. We had a clinic not long ago being onboarded. They started working with us. The message I got, by the way, from them last week was like, it made me cry. And I'm happy to sort of talk about them. I'm not going to name them, but they were seeing about 30 to 40. They had weeks where they would see 30 new patients, 40 new patients in a week. In a week, one clinic. And their PVA was just over 4.2, 4.5. What does that mean? Well, that means every patient that comes in after 4.2 visits disappears. And they think, oh, I'm fixed. Or they think, oh, chiropractic didn't work. Or they think, well, yeah, it feels pretty good. And then 6 months later, the same problem occurs and they go to somewhere else because they say, well, they didn't fix me. So you have to really start thinking about this. And we just built another module that we do training on, which is the retention mastery model inside the program. And that all aims to try and solve those issues from a clinical standpoint of view, from a business standpoint of view, from a how the team communicates the message. So you can see how, hopefully watching this video has given you a little bit of like, I'm trying to poke a little bit. And the reason for that is you guys are not going to take any action. If you consistently complain about something but don't do anything about it, you'll just be disappointed, or you just feel comfortable and therefore change is not going to happen. You just kind of, it is what it is. That's just how it is. Oh, but no one else. And then you find a clinic that is not as good as you to make yourself feel better. I know, because I used to do the same thing. So the aim of the game is to have a framework, someone to give you clarity on what the next step looks like. Once you've got your decision about what am I doing and why am I doing it sorted. Because the final step, the missing piece of the puzzle, which eventually, I'm currently at this step, by the way, is you have to evolve your identity as you go along. And there's lots of different models. Some say you start as a clinician, then operator, then owner, then leader. Some say clinician, operator, owner / CEO. One of the most impactful videos that I made was this self-actualization pattern. And what that means is how I was as a person when I was 26, had a team of 2 people, then had a team of 6 people, was different compared to when I'm, let's say, a couple of years ago when I was 36, 37, and I have a team of 16 people, and now we have a team close to 20 people. You just have to adapt your identity. And unless your identity shifts, unless you change and evolve, the business is going to stay exactly how it is right now, if not even decline. Because unfortunately, the businesses that we run, even some of the best clinics in the UK, like the ones we run, big scale, they're still small in comparison to the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons, which have thousands of team members. So it's a small family, which means that it's led from top down. If the leader is here, everything is a reflection of you. Or if you've done, like, I don't know, I removed myself from the business, so now will be a reflection of the practice manager, for example. From your CAs to how the clinicians act, to how, I don't know, the massage therapists act, it's all leader down. Therefore, the people talk about culture and people talk about, it's all about your identity. And I see this, like we work with a couple of osteopathy clinics and work with a couple of physiotherapy clinics, as well as all the other chiropractic clinics we have. It's all the same. But what the difference is this. An osteopath clinic will typically, and not to be discriminative towards any clinics, I think everyone is amazing who's trying to help people. But when they come on board and they see what's possible in the chiropractic space, we call it breaking the frame. It breaks their frame. They've just realized that there's something out there that is different than what I'm doing, similar enough so I can sense that it's possible for me, because they're sitting in the same room with another 3 chiropractors that are making 40, 50, 60, 70, 80K a month with the same amount of effort, just a different model, just a different system. And they start to go, whoa, I didn't even know that was a thing. I had the same thing. I remember last year I was part of a big mastermind group, nothing to do with chiropractic. It was coaching, consulting, and marketing. And I'm sitting in this room with, I don't know, 20 people. Every single one of them was likely to be a millionaire, and their age was between 17 and 25. I'm like, nah, that's not possible. And you spend 24 hours with these people, and you go to a few different events with them, and you start to realize, I'm not even, they call it the third door. I thought this option 1 and option 2, there's a whole new door that exists. I didn't even know it was available as an option. So my challenge for you is, in fact, go and watch this video. They know this, you don't. The top 1% clinic owners know this. And it would probably save you a lot of time, money, energy, and effort in making mistakes in the way you think, the way you carry yourself, and the way you make decisions. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. My aim here is to give you so much value that it's impossible for you not to work with me at some point, because we have this mission that every single clinic in the UK will go through the practice peak training, because I truly believe we can level up the profession, and it has to start with 1 clinic at a time. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.